previously held icon.
No, it was busy.
Yeah.
Because he was a very open-hearted gentleman.
Gentleman, yes. Yeah. A question you have not yet answered though. What did you want to do post-matric at that?
Okay, so my name is Kekelezo David Masudubele. I am the acting chairperson at the moment of the Prof. KP Mokhobo Foundation. I have known Prof. Mokhobo for almost 30 years. In my early 20s, as a student, I actually got to meet the man. I actually met him a few years earlier in an area in Mafike, where he was working as a cardiologist then. And as a budding student at that time, I was very much motivated by the man, caliber and the character of such a noble gentleman. And I actually met him on 3 spheres of my life, I could say that. Yes. Our lives have actually sort of had the intertwining spirit in that.
Yes.
We met in the church, first of all, in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, where he was really prominent in the sense of also preserving the legacy of African people, in particular, about their own understanding of themselves and where we come from. And it was a very lovely time to have actually had time to spend with him there. And then on the second phase was when he was my own professor as a medical student at Medunsa. And at that time, because I had met him before, I had known him, you know, the friendship and the chaperoning of a father actually came out there, where he was actually there teaching his students, and he actually really had a very good, wonderful passion about that kind of experience.
Yeah.
And on the third tier of our own engagement was that we were golfers, and we met on a golf course. Again, you know, I mean, one of his other passions is actually golf. I won't mention the other things that you guys have witnessed about what we do on the 19th hole after playing golf, but essentially it is to grow the young mind, which ultimately you know, came to the fore that we can actually form something that is of a legacy of the Prof. So Prof came back after having a stint, I think, in the Gauteng area as a lecturer at Medunsa, and I think working as a cardiologist at Sunny Hill Hospital, decided then to retire to his home, where he came from. I mean, he comes from this area of the northwest, which is called Potchefstroom, Tokwe, Imakweteng, and all of those kind of things. And in my journey, as we went and played certain courses, I traveled with him throughout the country as well, and he showed me where he grew up around here in Potchefstroom, you know, in a farm, a small boy at that time with no future really, you know, but the spirit that was in him to make sure that the African child must also get that opportunity to make it in life. I think that we are reminded a lot of times that, and Barack Obama have said it also in his speech, in his term as a second term of the United States, in the inaugural speech, that it was not the advent of talent that I became the president for the second term in the United States, but opportunity that was given me. And so opportunity has been the overarching and overriding principle of the Prof himself. So coming back to the foundation, I mean, we know that, you know, in this country, because of its own past and its own, you know, history, there isn't a lot about, you know, the stories that actually are there about black people who made it in the toughest of conditions, under the worst and horrible conditions that apartheid actually meted out at its own people, at the people of South Africa, and black people in particular. I think that the fact that he rose and actually sort of lifted himself by his own bootstraps to say that, you know, it is not so much about where I come from, but it's the will and the desire of what I want to do, what I want to become in life that matters. And I think it mattered because, I mean, a lot of lives have been saved. When you think about it, it's not so much that we are celebrating him, but we are celebrating the fact that let us look at the lives that have been saved and spared because of his own involvement in cardiology and in medicine in particular. So the issues around forming the foundation has about 5 years or so. I mean, COVID, I think also, you know, sometimes sort of takes our memories away a bit in terms of exactly when it, but about 5 years. And that the issues that were at hand was that, look, we've got to preserve this memory against forgetting. Memory that says we've got in our own midst, our own efforts, that we need to celebrate, and that there isn't an avenue of that kind of celebration, and that there aren't going to be anyone else other than us who can actually do this because we lived with him.
Yes.
We saw him. We saw the impact that he has had in the lives of many people.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of cardiology, I can tell you there are legions of cardiologists that actually came out of his own hands, that he trained and actually became sort of the buffon in terms of what cardiology entailed. I mean, I still have some of the journals that, you know, he used to pen at the pinnacle of his own career. So, I mean, we cannot let that slip away from us. We cannot say that there never was a person in the caliber of Prof. K.P. Mokhobo.
Yes.
And let us not forget that we mention cardiology, but we don't mention the fact that he became the first cardiologist, actually African cardiologist, in South Africa and in the whole of the continent of Africa. That is very significant. And it's not something that we can say, you know, we can forget about it and let it slip and not even write stories about it. The man also wrote a book about himself, Somewhere to Nowhere, you know, and from nowhere to somewhere. And that book itself, I mean, if you can get a copy of it, actually just surmises sort of the kind of impact that he had in the lives of many people that he came across. I mean, in our annual lecture that we had invited Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who actually at that time was Minister of Copta. But, you know, in her former life, you will understand that she's also a medical,
Yes.
having studied medicine and has known Prof for X amount of years. Many people don't even know that the Cuba South Africa relation in terms of the medical student exchange program that we had actually was founded by Prof. K.P. Mokhobo. Having realized that you know, the admissions into medical schools, you know, sort of do not actually cater for actually people from very poor and very bad backgrounds in terms of them accessing medicine as a career. And so Prof. K.P. Mokhobo, on the invitation of then President Nelson Mandela, went to Cuba. And I think that the recognition by Nelson Mandela that you have somebody that actually has got the knowledge, the skill, and the know-how in terms of how to see this thing going, of expanding the knowledge of medicine, expanding the knowledge of Africans in terms of their own impact on the African continent itself, and how Africans in the diaspora also and can interact with others so that we can actually continue on the path and the legacy of those four before us, our forebears, you know, who fought for this kind of things to be set in place so that the African child can actually become someone and something in this life. So we had invited Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who in her own right actually mentioned a lot of things that we about the impact that that Prof. KP Mokhobo had in societies and all of those kind of things. There are hospitals, that actually came and were actually built by KP Mokhobo. And we're actually moving towards a realization of a hospital being named after him. There are some hospital corridors that have actually decided that they will probably name a unit after KP Mokhobo, cardiology unit. So there are strides that I think they are being made in terms of preserving the kind of legacy that the man actually espoused. I think that going forward, it is so much that the education and health space are so interrelated that we need to get to a space and a time where we talk about education and we talk about how that education ultimately impacts the lives of people, because health then improves once education has been set in place. I mean, the issues of our sanitizing was actually around issues of educating people that you need to sanitize. But the outcome of that was that people now's health are improving because you are educating them about something, not the other way around. And I think Prof has been that to us a lot of times. He has impacted that kind of space so much that we cannot then rest on our own laurels and not take the cudgels forward about what the man actually stood for.
Yeah.
I became very fortunate. I think that you call it fate. I think sometimes people can call it chance. Probably think that it has been the grace of God also. And I mentioned this knowing full well that he is very much a very devoted man.
Yes.
Who believes that not the things that he has achieved were out of his own, but that they were actually things that were ordained for him, preordained for him, by his own stance in the belief that there is a greater God, there's a creator who is there really to make sure that we are sustained not just by our own knowledge of things, but his own grace that sustains us. So we're quite happy, we're quite fortunate, and we really want to thank Dr. Fundi and his group that they came and dug some things about the story that we want to take forward.
Welcome back, everyone. We are still, in the middle of our conversation. Myself and a health icon, Professor KP Mokhobo. Now, when we went to a break, we were talking about his experience at medical school, at Vets Medical School. We were just getting into the matter of the clinical years at around third year. But I must say that we used this break, profitably, in that we then had an interview with the chairperson of Prof. KP Mokhobo's foundation, Dr. Kekeletso David Masudubele. So we thought it was very important that we talk to the person who is in charge of an institution that is going to be keeping the legacy of Prof alive for generations to come. So, but what is interesting is that the chairperson of the foundation is not only just a chairperson, fellow worshipper with Prof, fellow golfer with Prof. They've gone around the country playing different golf courses and spending time on the 19th hole. But also is a product of Prof, as a qualified medical doctor. So we will be showing that interview so that people have got another view about this great man. So, but at this point, we are going to resume from where we ended. So, Prof, we were still talking about third year at Vets University. Now, you guys, did you start getting into hospitals as medical students at third year level or actually at fourth year level?
At fourth year level.
At fourth year level.
Yeah.
So, any highlights during that period in third year? When you were doing your anatomical pathology, pharmacology, microbiology, and things like that. Any highlights for you?
Not really. The highlight which should be just the question of anatomy.
Yes.
Where if a black body is brought out for dissection,
Yes.
blacks have to clear out
Yes.
and come back only to see the organs.
So when the black students in second year in anatomy,
Yeah.
when the black students, when there was a white body, as black students you had to move out
Yes.
and only come back to see the organs, but
Yes, sir.
not the
Yes,
body
yes,
of
sir.
a white person.
Yeah.
What did that do to you? As students, was there any? I remember you mentioned that it was an inspiration for you guys rather than something that
Yeah, we left it
depressed
off.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just stupid. We left it off.
yeah.
Mm.
All right. So in third year, you're doing these postmortems are done. Did you guys go and observe? And was there any racial discrimination whereby maybe you wouldn't be invited if it's a postmortem on a white body, or there was no issue there?
No, it wasn't an issue. We didn't see white bodies.
Yeah,
Not allowed to. Only black bodies.
yeah,
The white bodies only saw the internal organs.
yeah.
Mm.
This is now even at third year level.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And the university didn't have a problem with this.
No.
You remember now your consciousness at that time was quite high
Yeah.
as somebody who was politically
Yeah.
aware, and not just politically aware, but also somebody who was a leader in politics.
Mm.
So this matter, you guys did not challenge it.
No, we just disregarded it as stupid.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. That's fine. And it further motivated you guys that, at a particular point you will do things differently.
Yeah.
Right, you get to the clinical years from fourth year onwards now, where you have to go to the wards, you get given your white lab coats and given stethoscopes,
Yes.
because you're gonna now go and clerk patients in the
Yes,
wards.
yes.
How was just that experience now? Because if I just reflect back, you start feeling like, okay, now I'm starting to become something close to being a doctor. I've got a white coat, I've got a lab coat,
Yeah.
I'm getting to the wards. So how was that transition into the clinical years?
Very, very interesting and inspiring.
Yes.
And getting you to look forward to moving even further.
Mm. Yes. So I just remember those days about learning how to auscultate, and how to listen to the air entry using a stethoscope,
Yeah.
and how we would show off, with the stethoscope, you make sure that it appears on your white jacket so that people know this is no ordinary, a person. This is now somebody who's fighting to being a doctor.
Yeah.
Did you guys have that kind of thing as
Yeah,
well?
we're very, very proud of ourselves
Yes.
as learners to be doctors.
Yes, yes. So you did your clinical work, in those clinical years, fourth year, fifth year, and sixth year.
And then internship.
Yeah, so you obviously get your qualification at the end of sixth year.
Yeah.
Now, did you already make up your mind that you are going to be somebody who will pursue internal medicine, or you actually were still confused about what kind of discipline that you would want to follow post qualification?
No, it was very clear in my mind, Bishop,
Yeah.
internal medicine and cardiology.
Why? Why, Prof? Just take us into your mind.
I love medicine because it was challenging, it was broad,
Yes.
you read a lot
Yes.
and know a lot. So I accepted that as a good way of moving forward.
But there was always this thing from surgeons, that what, these internal medicine people, they take long to intervene. They have this battery of tests that they have to do.
Yes.
Whilst we as surgeons, we need to make a decision now and go in and solve the problem. So those kind of things did not deter you,
No.
that you guys were too slow to act.
No, they didn't even appeal to us at all.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. Okay. So having made up your mind that you will follow internal medicine, now as a postgraduate, training, did you do well? Because it's one thing to say, I want to specialize as a specialist physician, but then you get a Madota score 50-51, and maybe you do well in gynecology or you do well in surgery. So for you, when we now look at your final exams as a medical student, can you just give us a sense of how did you perform and whether internal medicine was actually your favorite and also shown in the marks that you obtained?
Yes, it was my favorite because it was challenging.
Yeah.
It was broad and deep, and you had to read a lot,
Yeah.
and that I enjoyed.
Yes. So your mark, how was your mark? Did it top the other subjects to justify you
Yeah.
wanting to do?
Top in medicine.
Yeah.
The lowest was gynecology.
Yes.
I was not interested.
You were not interested in that space.
Surgery, really, but medicine was at the top.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not going to say, I normally make a joke about that field you've just mentioned, that it's a space where, a profession in a discipline where other people play. But let's move on from that. So, Prof, when did you qualify as a medical doctor then? Your 6th year?
1957.
1957, you became a medical doctor.
MBCHB.
MBCHB. And, so the person you looked up to, Dr. Tsindi, who was already a doctor, now at least you were also like Dr. Tsindi
Yes.
at that time. Where did you do your internship? Bara.
Yeah, Bara.
And how would you just, tell us about the time at Bara as an intern or houseman?
No, it was all right. There's no, a question of race or
Yes.
gender.
Yes.
You just get as an intern, you have a clinical head,
Yes.
teachers, and you just proceed.
Yes. Now, Bara, we are told that it's the biggest or the largest, hospital now in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yes.
Those days, was it still this big, kind of hospital, and, the experience of working there as an intern or houseman?
Yeah, no, it offered a very broad exposure.
Yeah.
But even when you're in internal medicine, you still met a little bit of colic, surgery, gynae, even such specialties like eyes
Yes.
and ears,
Yeah.
ENT.
Yes. All right. Because, once again, when you do internship, I'm not sure those days, sometimes you could go to the big hospital and you find that there's a lot of hierarchy there. You end up being a vampire who pulls bloods after the ward rounds, and then in the afternoon you spend the whole time receiving results ready for tomorrow's ward round. In which case, when you finish the year, you have not really learned much practical experience. Other people will say, no, go to the outlying hospitals because there you don't have all these layers, so you then get practical experience. So would you say at the end of your internship, you had practical experience in terms of managing patients?
Yes, enough practical experience, because even after hours,
Yeah.
you went to work
Yes.
on patients
Yes.
and read and discussed amongst yourselves.
Yes. All right. And this is long before the current thing of ComServe and everything, which also at my time, which was in the early 90s, there was no ComServe. You do internship or housemanship, then after that, you then become really like a real doctor.
A GP.
A GP, you can decide now, okay, I will go and become a GP for a number of years. And other people would say, well, after 5 years of GP, I'll then maybe go back and specialize. So in your case, what was the situation?
I did it. I was a GP for quite some time.
Yeah,
I don't remember how many years,
yeah,
but my ambition never died when I was going to specialize.
yes. But then to sort out black tax issues, you must go and make a bit of money
Yeah.
before you come back,
Yes.
you know, and further your studies.
Yeah.
Yes. So, where did you have your practice as a GP initially?
Davidson
At Davidton
in Benoni.
in Benoni.
Yeah.
So, was this the time when you became, you know, the chairperson of PAC?
Yes.
I mean, this is a time where there was a lot happening in the country.
Mm.
You know, was there any harassment for your political activities?
No. There was not much harassment.
Yes.
Mm.
All right.
They were
Because
so busy.
Davidton was almost like you know, one of those townships with a lot of mix of people.
Mm.
Dr. Nene
Dotwana.
and Dotwana.
Mm.
Yes, you know. So, but
Lamba.
who?
Jose de Lamba.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. So you basically was one of them.
Yeah.
But you still wanted to become a specialist physician
Mm-hmm.
and subsequently to become a cardiologist.
Yes.
How easy was it for you to then say, I'm now leaving GP, I want to go and be trained to become a specialist physician? Because sometimes, as much as the heart and the mind want, you know, to go and do that, but you've made certain commitments now as a GP, you know, there's lifestyle issues that may have to be downgraded because as a registrar, it's not, you know, a well-paying job.
Yes, a GP. Yeah, no, I think you prepare for that to adjust
Yes,
to that level of living.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so you have to now look for a place that will give you an opportunity to be a registrar. Where did you search? Did you go back to your alma mater, which is Wits, you know, Bara complex, or you actually looked at other universities?
No, I don't want to go far from home.
Yes.
I had a house, I had a wife, children, so I went to Bara.
You went to Bara.
Mm.
And how easy was it for you to actually get that registrar post? Is it based on your performance as a student in the field of internal medicine and also your experience when you were doing your rotations, you know, as an intern before you became a GP?
The registrars then, Dr. Wilson and others, they just liked me.
Yes.
Mm.
So you think it was not, they liked the fact that you were a bright student
Yeah.
who was a top performer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not just because they looked at your face and they loved your
No,
face.
no.
All right. So you got the position that set you now on another track
Yeah.
to become what you always wanted to be.
Yes.
Why internal medicine? I know I've asked a little bit before, but now you already have the work experience. Wasn't there anything that maybe confused you at that point to say you're thinking in the final years of undergraduate, you know, about this choice? Was there no other, you know, thoughts that came in based on your exposure now to the real work?
No, I found internal medicine challenging.
Yeah.
It was broad,
Yeah.
based, and it did touch other disciplines.
Yes.
ENT, eyes, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
forth.
Yes.
Internal medicine was attractive.